SEC storylines for 2026. What are some things that could happen? Some what ifs in the SEC that could happen that would shape the entire SEC in 2026, and just throw it in a blender at this point. Starting off with number one. What if there is no dominant team in the SEC? I'll give you a second to think about what I just said there. What if there is no dominant team in the SEC? So for years, the SEC has had a dominant team, whether it's Georgia, Alabama, LSU, Texas A&M, whatever team you want to put in there. There's always been that one team or two teams where you've said they're the best team in the conference. What if what if nobody separates themselves in 2026? What if we get a conference where Georgia's good but not elite, where Alabama's still trying to find its identity, where, Texas is inconsistent again, where LSU doesn't live up to the hype? What if Tennessee is good but not dominant? What if A&M is dangerous? What if all those things happen? What if Ole Miss is a nightmare matchup out of nowhere? These are all things that could happen. What if there's no dominant team? Now, I have another what if, which is the third one on the list. So not next one, but the one after that, which you got to stay tuned to, or stay in tune, or stay here for, I guess, which is similar to this one, but a little different. So what if suddenly the SEC becomes a conference where nobody is kind of, unbeatable, nobody is separating themselves? What if it's just a jumbled mix of a bunch of average teams or above average teams? Well, then you're going to have yourself a crazy SEC race, a crazy playoff race. The committee's going to hate the SEC if this happens. So, one of the big questions is, this could be a hot take. I'm not saying this is my take, but this could be a potential hot take, is what if the SEC champion has 2 or even 3 losses? What if you're looking at Texas and saying they won the SEC and they're 11-2, or they won the SEC and they're 10-3? I don't think 10-3 is going to happen, but what if you look at a team that says they're a 2-loss SEC champ? That's going to be tough, because then you have a bunch of potential 2-loss, potential 3-loss teams that you're looking at the end of the season and saying, throwing them all to the committee. You take your basket of average SEC teams, you toss them at the committee, and you say, here you go. Which ones are going in the playoff? That's going to be tough for the committee. So that's a what if that I have for the SEC. What if Alabama misses the college football playoff again? That's a legit possibility. What if Kalen DeBoer and Alabama miss the college football playoff for the second year in a row? That's tough. That is going to be tough for Alabama. That's going to be one big pill to swallow. This is one of the biggest storylines in college football right now in terms of going into the next season. Alabama missing the college football playoff could be viewed as a down year and a disappointing year, and calling for DeBoer's job. It would not be good. If they miss the playoff, the conversation becomes much bigger than just, oh, something needs to change. The conversation becomes DeBoer needs to be fired. Am I in that group of saying DeBoer needs to be fired? No. I think DeBoer is the perfect guy for this job. But, man, is Alabama still Alabama? That's another question you could ask. But, the standard in Tuscaloosa is not, can we win 9 games? Can we win 10 games? The standard in Tuscaloosa is, can we win the national championship? Can we win the SEC? Can we compete in the SEC? Can we be there in the end of the playoff race? That's the standard at Alabama. It's championship or nothing. And people still have that as the standard there. Maybe that needs to be changed. Maybe the standard needs to be lowered for Kalen DeBoer at Alabama. And rightfully so, it could be. Maybe the standard needs to be, hey, we're a 10-2 team now. We're a 10-2 program. We're an 11-1 at best program. We're not a window program, but we are a program that is not consistently being in a national championship picture. Maybe that's Alabama. Alabama's got a tough SEC schedule. They got a lot of new players developing, especially at the quarterback position. The SEC's more filled with legitimate contenders, with Texas and OU joining the last few years. The margin for error is extremely small in the SEC. You lose 2 conference games, you're probably not making the championship game. Alabama needs to prove they can consistently win big games because it's up and down last year. We need to see this Alabama team make the playoff. Because if Alabama misses the playoff again, people are going to start calling for DeBoer's job, and it's not going to be great. It's not going to be great. It's not going to be what I would want for that team. All right, number 3. This is the one I was talking about earlier. What if the SEC has multiple 9-win teams? What if that happens? Well, then you're looking at a conference, and you're saying, here we go. Here we go. Because if the SEC is multiple 9-win teams, this is back to what I was just talking about earlier. Probably could have put them both into one, but you have this bucket or this bin of average 9-win SEC teams, and you throw it at the committee and say, here is 4, potentially 5 9-win SEC teams. Which ones are getting in the playoff? Because that's going to be a tough conversation. And that's going to make a lot of people mad, a lot of people frustrated. This might be the most interesting storyline of this entire segment. What if the SEC is, incredibly competitive, where you never know if Georgia's going to lose one to Arkansas or South Carolina is going to go to Alabama and beat them. You never know when those things are going to happen. What if the conference has 1 team with 11 wins, 3 teams with 10 wins, 6 teams with 9 wins, or flop that, 1 team with 11 wins, 6 teams with 10 wins, 3 teams with 9 wins. You just have a big bundle of teams. It's going to really screw the committee, that's for sure. And then that's where you get the playoff expansionists, the 2014 playoff expansionists who are going to come in and say, I told you, just expand the playoff and they all get in. That's not what the playoff should be, but that's a conversation for another time. So, this could happen, and if it did, that would really throw a wrench in everything in the SEC, that is for sure, and that is not a world that we want to be living in. All right, last one real quick here. Number 4, what if Texas, this is very similar to the last one we just did, what if Texas loses 9 or more games in 2026? What if the Longhorns and Steve Sarkisian don't get it done again? Texas has the talent. They have the resources, they have the recruiting, they have the facilities, they have the expectations, all this stuff. It's built up. It's like a balloon. They're full. Everything's full at Texas. What are they going to do with it now? Are they going to fall flat on their face or, produce a 9-win season? Or are they going to go 11-1 and, be there in the SEC championship appearance, in the SEC championship game and make the college ball playoff? Or are they going to do the former? I'm thinking the latter, but what if happens if the former happens? What if everything goes wrong? What if Texas struggles at quarterback? What if Arch Manning isn't what, everyone chalked him up to be? What if all that happens? What if, the offensive line has problems? What if the defense isn't as good as expected? Maybe Colin Simmons is good and then there's nothing else. What if the Longhorns have to play an extremely difficult SEC schedule, which they do, so we could turn that into they do, not what if? These are all questions that I have, that if some of those go wrong, not even all of them, could produce a 9-win season. Suddenly a team that many people view as a national championship contender could potentially have another disastrous season, if you call 9 wins disastrous. But if they don't make the college football playoff this year for some reason, Steve Sarkisian is going to be under the most pressure we've seen a coach under, more than Lincoln Riley, probably in the modern era of college football. And that might be a hot take, but I don't think it is. I think it's just common sense because Steve Sarkisian's been there for so many, I don't know the exact amount of years, but he's been there for a long time. It's not like a Kalen DeBoer situation where he's been there for 3 years. He's been there for a long time. A long time. So it's even longer than Lincoln Riley was at USC. So there is a lot of, things here at Texas that are looking up for the team. If those things all go wrong and they miss the playoff, man, it is not going to be a comfortable conversation for Steve Sarkisian. This would be one of the biggest collapses, I think, in college football in the last couple years. There's no doubt about it. Now, again, I don't think this is the most likely outcome. I don't think that this is going to happen. This is a big what if. This is like me really going on a rabbit trail here. This is not me saying this is going to happen specifically. But this is me saying if this does happen, Steve Steve Sarkisian is going to be under a lot of pressure. A lot of pressure. It's going to be must win. It's going to be a win or bust mode for them now, and it's going to be a tough conversation, that's for sure. So my take is Texas doesn't have a bad season. They're not going to go 8-4, 9-3. That's not my take. My take is they're going to be a 10-2, 11-1 team. They're going to be in the SEC championship game. They're probably going to be in the top 5 team in the college football playoff. Like, that's my take on all this. But you let me know your take down below on all those what ifs in the SEC and those SEC storylines. If you're a Texas fan or Alabama fan and I upsetted you, comment down below and we can talk about the team, because I love talking about college football in the comments below with you guys. Make sure you guys are subscribed. Appreciate you guys for watching.